Okay, here's part 2, quick video on paradigms and Kuhn. So Kuhn, in terms of what Kuhn wants, Thomas Kuhn sits on the fence of the debate whether sociology is a science. Okay, that's a fence, by the way. In addition to the question, is or can sociology ever be a science? His answer actually is, well, yes and no. So it doesn't really give us much of a thing. That's what I was trying to sort of say to you before. Kuhn looked at the history of natural sciences and argued that it's not simply an accumulation of knowledge that ends up being the credible academic body we know as science, but that it went through a series of paradigm shifts or revolutions, a bit like a marriage. So basically, natural science, the history of natural science, isn't just a body of an academic body that we think, whoa, it knows everything. You know, it's always known everything. No, like any other body of knowledge, it's gone through a load of shifts. It's gone through a load of revolutions. Remember those circles I drew up on the board for you? Loads of scientists in one, they all agree the same thing. One steps out, takes a risk, moves into another paradigm, and then they all follow suit. Now that's what's known as a paradigm shift or a revolution. Now, paradigm shifts, i.e. moving outside here and there of the little circles, go on all the time in normal science. For example, the MMR jab, there was a huge thing around that. And it was the idea that it was safe. However, a particular scientist called Andrew Wakefield argued it wasn't, and it caused a huge issue, although actually it hasn't been proved it is linked to autism. So paradigm shifts are basically when one way of thinking replaces another way of thinking. It's shoved out of the way. Okay. So Kuhn talked about sociology, about it behaving that in the pre-science stage, in terms of what sociology should be like. So if it wasn't a science and it's just coming before science, there's no dominant perspective, and that there's lots of competing theories and perspectives. So sociology in a pre-science stage as a subject, that's where you could say it stands. There's loads of different theories and things. It's totally valid to refer to sociology as a young science. It still needs more of a unification than maybe other science does. By saying that science is capable of disproving theories all the time, Kuhn is implying that we never need to get to the truth and that science isn't as objective as we'd like it to be. So science can actually cause harm by being used to damage humanity for the benefit of the few. So science isn't all. Do you remember the bell curve? I mentioned it in part 1 of the video, the Charles Murray in Harvard, about saying that black people were not as intelligent as white people in 1994. That sold loads of copies, and that was supposedly science. You know, and here we've got Hiroshima, military harm. You've got medical harm, you've got political harm, all of this caused in the name of science. Therefore, can it be natural, social? Can it ever be objective? Can it ever truly behave in the interests of humanity and leave out the opinion and ideology? Science can't do that. How do you expect sociology to do it? So Kuhn, as a person, kind of sits on the fence. I'm not going to say much more about this in terms of Kuhn and Popper, but they're sort of trying to argue whether or not sociology could ever be a science, and you've got to use those two in your exam tomorrow if the science bit comes up, and really argue about whether or not both those are identifying sociology as a science. They're not really one way or another. It's just a way of looking at science. Good luck tomorrow with this. I'm going to put this PowerPoint up on Google Classroom. It goes through everything very, very basically and slowly with very few words. Don't panic if there's something you don't understand from it. Just ignore it. For now, there is no point in learning new stuff now. Just go through it. Anything else that you feel that you might need, just let me know. But obviously, I'm going to go to bed in a minute. Good luck tomorrow. This is a new one that I was creating for next year. So hopefully you can benefit from it this evening by having a quick look if you find it difficult.